Hello, welcome to the Jazz Ranch Hip Cats, Groovy Chicks, and Finger Poppin' Daddies. I'm your Alter Dominant Ego Man. You know, welcome. It's Christmas time here, and we just had a white Christmas. We just had the snow coming down on Christmas Eve. How about that? I haven't seen that since I was a kid, which was about 200 years ago. Anyway, you know, as an Alter Dominant man, I have special privileges. I'm a ghost. So I have some buddies I hang out with. One of them is Marley's ghost. I hang out with him, you know, from Dickens. A Christmas Carol, I hang out with him, and I also hang out with the ghosts of Christmas past. You know, I met them when I was in Hollywood, hanging out at the haunted dives. You know, you know, I hung out at some haunted mansions as well. You know, I met these cats, or ghosts, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, but you know, they invited me this year, actually, to go up to the North Pole to meet Santa Claus. Can you imagine that? You know, I felt very privileged. You know, I'm an Alter Dominant Ego man, so I go to the conventions, you know, and everywhere. But anyway, I was invited up to the North Pole to meet Santa Claus. So I went up there, and, I met up with Marley's ghost, and they brought me in to meet Santa. You know, and Santa would say, this is what he said to me. I'll give you a quote. He said, "I'm honored to meet you. You know, I enjoy meeting all Alter Dominant Ego men. I mean, altered egos." I said, "I've met many alter egos in my lifetime." And he said, and then he asked me this question. He says, "Well, what do you do for a living?" Well, I told him, "Well, I'm a jazz musician." You know, I'm a jazz musician. Oh, he said, "I'm sorry. You can't come in through the front entrance. You got to go around the back and go through the kitchen." Well, I was shocked. You know, this was Santa Claus. You know, can't get no respect. You know, I mean, it's been like that forever. You know, us jazz musicians can't get any respect. What? Hold it, the KH. He's coming up the walkway. He's got the guard dog. He's not gonna like to tell. And I told you that story. I got a split. I'll see you. Merry Christmas. Merry White Christmas, actually. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Jazz Ranch, Hip Cats, Groovy Chicks, and Finger Poppin' Daddies. You know, I'm sorry about the Alter Dominant man, you know, always cuts in on my introductions. But I'm glad he told you that story of going to see Santa Claus and not getting any respect as a jazz musician. Occasionally we do get respect, but that's sort of a true story. I have had that same experience of having to enter through the kitchen and also carrying an electric piano and amps and everything through a kitchen. So it's based on truth. Anyway, this evening I have a very special program for you based on a Christmas song called "Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow." It's a wonderful song. It's a swinging Christmas song. I'm going to play it for you, and I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 different techniques that I use in this video that I hope you will be interested in learning about. And there are previous videos that I've made about these various techniques that you can study. So here we go with a great song for Christmas called "Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow." Welcome to the Jazz Ranch studio where we talk about what we play. And I mean we meaning me. Me and the alto dominant man that's helping me. So, you know, starting out, a pedal tone on the 5 works well. And these are sort of like bell tones, church bell tones, you know. Big Ben, you know. So now, I used probably 4 different techniques, the central techniques in this performance or this arrangement that you can look at and download and follow along with me. I used the locked hands technique, which is Milt Buckner and George Shearing, you know, all the greats, Nat King Cole used this. I used the drop 2 technique, which is a variation on that, on the first one, and then I used spread voicings and also rootless chords as well as block chords, so in root position. So you have it all in this little arrangement here. Now, starting out for the melody, this is like a what I would call a swinging jazz tune, right? I mean a swinging Christmas jazz tune. Now, if you take that melody, because it's descending on an F scale, we're in the key of F1 flat, it goes right down the F scale, we can use the locked hands approach and the Barry Harris technique of diminished 6th scale. So, if it's an F chord, or an F major, or an F6, then the Barry Harris scale would be this, the F, with the additional note there of the D flat. So that D flat gives us the diminished chords going up. Now, if you don't understand this, then you want to watch my videos on the Barry Harris 6th diminished scale to see how that's working. But whether you use it ascending or descending, it works the same way. So I'm descending now. So I want to go F chord, and you can make it an F major 7 or an F6, like that. I use an F major 7 or an F major 9 there. So now the next chord would be, that'd be a passing tone. Why? Because that's 5, this is 4, that's 3, this is 2, so, of the scale. So the chord tones would be 1, 3, 5, and the 2 and the 4 and the 6 would be passing tones. So I would play the diminished chord on the passing tone. So it would be an F major 7. It's not reading correctly. I have to put the root there now. F major 9. Then, okay, there you have the C7 flat 9, or the diminished chord. There it is. To the F6. And then on the G, the diminished chord. And if you put the 5 there, it's a C7 flat 9. So in those diminished chords, they're really variations of the 5 chord with the flat 9 in there. So you see it's F major to C7 flat 9 to F major to C7 flat 9 to F major. And it's reading it correctly there in the graph. The computer's interpreting what I'm playing, and it doesn't understand what I'm playing unless I put the root in the bass. See, so I'm not really playing the root when I play it like this. Let's see. When I play locked hands, I'm doubling the melody like this in octaves. So my right hand and my left hand are playing the melody on the top, and then in my left hand like this. That's the big band sound. That's how they harmonized chords in big bands. So you're getting that big band sound in a piano setting or a trio setting. I use the backing track with this. So there's your first phrase played with the locked hands and in the George Shearing tradition. Okay. It's a little hard for me because I have a bent finger over here. It's a little hard for me, but anyway, I get it that way. Right after that, I went into a, let's go to there. I went into spread voicings and actually inversions of chords. So the next one is, melody goes like this. So now I'm using a C7 chord there, but with a G in the bass. Well, it's a form of a G minor 7 sus. And then to an F chord with an A in the bass. To a interesting chord, a D flat 7 sharp 11 with it. Technically a G sharp, no, an A flat in the bass. To a C7 with a G in the bass. So there I have inversions of block chords. I could have made it a G minor sus4 to an A minor to an A flat diminished. You see, I could have played it that way, but I like the sound of the inversions of regular 7th chords like this. I like that sound as opposed to the diminished chord there. See, diminished would have been this. It's a subtle difference. It's just one note, but that's more of a classical concept. And then another diminished chord here. See, so you know, in sophisticated harmony, you actually harmonize every single note of the melody. Bill Evans did this, all the greats did this. They harmonized every note of the melody. So the more you know about theory and know how to do that, and I'm trying to teach you that, then the more interesting your arrangements are going to sound. So now, there's your diminished chord there. Now here's where I use the drop 2 on this part of the melody. It goes. So if I were to harmonize that in the right hand, it'd be this. Using the Bailey Harris. Now there I'm using a different scale. Instead of 5 of F, I'm using 5 of G minor. So I'm on a G minor chord, minor 7 chord. So now the 5 becomes a D7, so it'd be this. You see that D7 showing up there, flat 9? So that's a different scale. That's a B flat scale. Because G minor is relative to B flat. You see, so this is kind of a fun thing. You have to figure out when relative minors are, you know, when a minor 7 chord is in the melody, or in the harmonic structure of a melody, that relates to its relative major scale. So in the case of the beginning, where I'm playing on an F scale, the 1 chord, its 5 would be C7, flat 9. When I'm on the 2 chord, or the G minor 7, its relative major would be B flat, and I'd be playing on the B flat system, so it's 5 to G minor 7 would be D7, right? So this is a fascinating theory, but it, you know, when you understand it and you apply it to how you're playing, then it sounds good. So here's what the drop 2 does. It gives me this sound. Now that's distinctly different than the locked hands. Locked hands sounded like this at the beginning. Right now, if I played locked hands on that next phrase, it would sound like this. But listen how it sounds with the drop 2. It's a very pretty sound, even though this is, I'm sorry, it's an electric piano. I'm not using my grand piano here because I want to do the OBS studio. I can't do that with the grand piano. So now the next chord is fascinating. Now it's this note. So it's a diminished chord, A flat diminished. Why A flat? Because we're approaching a G minor, and diminished chords often approach from a half step above or a half step below. Now, that note is not in an A flat diminished chord. You know, A flat diminished chord is A flat, C flat, D, F, and this is an E. But it's in the scale of A flat diminished. The scale of A flat diminished, you have this scale. And this happens often in music, and it's very clever when composers use melody notes and understand that a diminished chord is going to work there. Because usually those melody notes are non-chord tones. In other words, they don't fit the chord, but they fit the scale of that chord. So an A flat diminished chord has an E in the scale. Another advanced concept. But it's a beautiful sound. And you can actually play a double diminished like this. You can even play that. How do you like that sound? Try that chord. Now, what is it? You say, what is that? Well, that is an A flat diminished chord on the bottom with a G diminished chord on the top. You know, it's a little too radical maybe, but you might prefer this. There's your G minor 11. And then right here I did a C7, but I put the sharp 11 in there. That's a sharp. Let's see if I can get it. There it is. There's the sharp 11. And then I did a 3, 6, 2, 5. Then I went up an octave. Just to vary the arrangement, I don't want to just repeat myself. So I went up an octave like this. I'm just playing the same thing but up an octave now so that it sounds more interesting as it's developing as an arrangement. It's not just repeating itself. You're just not repeating, saying the same thing in a conversation that you said before. You're trying to tell the story and make it evolve and keep it interesting. So now when we get to the bridge, another fascinating thing happens in this song. Usually when you get to a bridge of a song, it changes key. And in this case, it doesn't really change key, but it changes tonal center. It changes from an F tonal center to a C tonal center. So we go into the key of C. So in a way we are modulating from one flat to no flats. And the best way to modulate in every case is just to put the 5 chord of the new key in there. So when you get to the end of the A section, second A, you get this. Then a quick G7 with that melody note. G7 sets us up for C major. Now I'm playing block chords. Why? Because they sound good there. So it's just going right up the scale. On the scale tone 7. It's 1, 2, 3, and then 6, then 2, 5, 1. So it's a very simple chord progression. So now I'm just playing block chords in the left hand and melody, single line melody notes in the right hand. Nice contrast. I could play big chords there like this. I could do this. I could do that, but I didn't want to do that. I just kind of want to simplify it there. So the A7, I could play it as a D flat diminished, same type of chord. G7 flat 9. The G7 again. Now varying it, instead of repeating myself, I'm going to get to the 6 chord dominant stepwise. I'm going to put a sus chord there, resolving it there, and then the 2 chord in C now as dominant. 5 of C, and then C becomes dominant because we want to go back to F, right? Back to F. You see, so that's a very clever bridge using the key of the 5, and that's often done by classical composers and jazz composers. And it's easy to get back to the 1 chord in the original key by just making that 5 chord dominant 7th. And that's what happens there. You see, 7, or you could make it a 2-5. You could go to a G minor 9 and then a C7. And then back to... So there you have it, pretty much, and then I just repeated it, and then I put an ending on it. The ending I used, of course, was based on the fact that the band in the box gave me the ending, so I had to just go along with their ending. So there you have the essential ingredients of what I played. You have the score to download, the locked hands technique, the Barry Harris diminished 6 scale being used there in 2 varieties, over the 1 chord and over the 2 chord. The spread voicings with inversions of regular dominant 7th chords, and then your block chords and rootless chords. So there you have what I would say probably some of the more important techniques for playing a song in a sophisticated way. And of course, most important is to make it swing. So talking about rhythmic factors will be another subject in another video. So we'll sign off from here. We'll have a nice sign off. So here we go with our sign off. Signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much for tuning in. I love to hear from you. Please write to me. Leave a comment. Write to my email. I will respond to you. Give me time. It might take me a week or 2 or a month, but I will get back to you. And signing off, in the words of my great friend Hermie Dressel upstairs, and he's celebrating right now. Merry Christmas, Merry White Christmas, and he's saying to you, swing loose, and we'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.